Welcome back to the 3-hour news show. Russia continues to showcase its military might to the world with its new intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBM, that are capable of carrying several hypersonic weapons, according to a senior Russian military on Sunday.
Now, the Russian military's strategic missile forces commander said that the new Sarmat ICBM is designed to carry several avant-garde hypersonic glide vehicles.
Now, the Sarmat is also a heavy missile that has been under development for several years to replace the Soviet-made Voyevoda, which was codenamed Satan by the West, and the core of Russia's nuclear deterrent.
The Sarmat was test-fired for the first time on Wednesday from the Plesetsk launch facility in northern Russia, according to Russia's defense ministry. Its practice warheads have successfully reached mock targets on the Kura firing range on the far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula. The test launch occurred amid soaring tensions between Moscow and the West over Russia's special military operation in Ukraine, which underlines the Kremlin's emphasis on the country's nuclear forces.
Созданием авангарда создана новая эра гиперзвукового оружия. Это, кстати сказать, сегодня ни у кого в мире стоящих на боедежурстве нет, а у нас есть. Что касается Сармата, это другой ракетный комплекс. В основе его лежит носитель. Он намного мощнее носителя «Авангард». И он создавался и в том числе для боевого оснащения «Авангарда», с учетом того, что их количество на этом комплексе может быть больше.
Russian President Vladimir Putin hailed the Sarmat launch as a major achievement, claiming that the new missile has no foreign equivalent and is capable of penetrating any prospective missile defense. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry shared on Monday the footage of Iskander short-range ballistic missile systems were being fired in Ukraine and struck Ukrainian weapons, armored vehicles, and ammunition stored in hangars.
It created some stir in the international world. Now, to discuss more about this, we're now connected with the University of Padjajaran international relations expert Teuku Rezasyah. Good afternoon, sir. So the first question.
Good afternoon, Indonesia.
Good afternoon, Indonesia as well. And the first question would be, what exactly does Putin want to show with the launch of the missiles? Because according to some news in the West, this display was done to scare Western countries. Do you have any say on that?
Well, maybe Putin didn't mean to scare other countries, but the term ICBM itself is a scary term in international relations. ICBM means intercontinental ballistic missiles. It can reach around 5,000 kilometers from Moscow. It can be designed to be equipped with nuclear weapons. And then with the current technology, it can reach Paris, less than 2,500 kilometers from Moscow. It can also reach London within 2,500 kilometers from Moscow, and also Munich within 1,000 kilometers from Moscow. We need to really understand that the minimum range of this warhead is 5,000 kilometers. And it can travel to different locations at a single time. In this case, one single warhead can target various locations in different parts of the world. So this is a very scary thing, and it is quite normal if the US and EU countries are worried. Because for long, if we recall the relationships during the Cold War period, the Western countries always fascinated with the Russian military technology. For example, they worked very hard in 1976, to bring MiG-25 interceptor from Soviet Union to land in Japan. The pilot at the time was Viktor Ivanovich Belenko. And again, in year 1990, we are still fascinated with a movie called The Hunt for Red October. It shows the superiority of the Soviet submarine at the time. And during 1980s until early 1990s, when the world was fascinated with the Soviet technology, the world analyzed what happened in the US through a book. This has become a classical book called Soviet Military Power. So, in fact, Russian technology is always fascinated the US and its allies. It is a state-of-the-art technology. It is a state-of-the-art in the area of command, control, communication, computers, and then combat systems, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And uniquely, the Russian technology is Russian indigenous technology. Russia is not depending on any countries in the world to develop its military superiority. So
Yeah.
that's why it is always fascinating, without having to say I am scaring you, but the West is already scared.
I mean, historically, it is proven, as you mentioned before, that Russia has always been the center of fascination, you may say, not just the Western Bloc, but everywhere around the world. And Indonesia also have submarines from the Soviets, Soviet times. But other than the impression of Europe and, and the U.S. right now, let's just say, with the emergence of this new type of missile, do you think it is going to stir the international community even further now that Russia is also involved in a huge conflict with Ukraine?
Well, if we witness the current tension in Europe here involving Russia and Ukraine, I think the introduction of this this technology, I do not know if it is nuclear weapon or not, or it consists of what we call it, chemical and biological weapon substances. We do not know, but the impact of this test has really shocked the world, because we do not know if Russia is planning to use this technology to reach Ukraine and to reach other cities in Europe. But I'm sure, showing this technology, this missile technology, it has shocked most capitals in Europe. It will immediately create a regional arms race. It will immediately also create a nuclear arms race, and we do not know what will happen. Because at this moment, what the world could say is, the tension is there, but countries must calm. Countries must go to the table for negotiation. But we do not know exactly what Putin has in mind in this case. Is it a show force? Is it a real arms race, or it is a threat? Well, we do not know, because when it comes to technicalities, Putin doesn't say much, but we tend to interpret. And of course, what we have in mind is a worst case scenario. That's why countries will have to understand what Putin has in mind. Well, only the CIA or MI6 know exactly what is in Putin's mind. I have no knowledge.
So with that being said, you think that this test will trigger both the US and the Europe to at least strengthen their military arsenal?
Correct. This is worry me. Worries me very much. Because Ukraine is stuck in between. If we see from the Russian perspective, Russia wants Ukraine to be a neutral state, a non-aligned state, and acting as a buffer zone, separating Russia and the NATO countries. But if we see the latest development, the US and the UK, they have been sending various kinds of armaments to Ukraine, and this developed to increase a sense of confidence in the mind of the Ukrainian leaders. So we do not know what's going to happen, but well, we can only pray that the leaders in Washington, in EU countries, and also in Moscow will understand the damage they could do if they pursue with the further militarization.
You know what I find very interesting? The timing of introducing such technology, as you mentioned before, right? As you mentioned before, now that Ukraine has developed some kind of more confidence due to the support that they're receiving. And all Russia needs to do is just show that they're testing one, intercontinental ballistic missile, and the whole world is back to zero again. Because do you think this is going to shift Ukraine's move in negotiations, knowing what kind of weapon Russia actually has now?
Well, psychologically, this missile testing will the message will go to the head of the Ukrainian leaders, because they know what Russia can do,
Yeah.
what Russia can do with this kind of technology. One missile can target more than somewhere between 5 to 10 different locations at the same time. So this is scary. I think this situation has put the world into a test. Yeah, it reminds me on sometime in year 1960s, during the period of President Kennedy in the U.S. and Khrushchev in the Soviet Union. The two countries experienced in the theory called the Cuban Missile Crisis. And
Yeah.
this was the scariest event in the world, where the East and West were close to a nuclear war at the time. And luckily, President Kennedy at that time, in year 1962, was a very logical person. And also, Khrushchev also understood the danger if he pursued of installing missiles on the Cuban soil, which has a capacity to attack many positions in the U.S. So this has been studied very seriously. In international relations, we have a textbook under the name, the title of the textbook, "The Essence of Decision," and the author is Graham Allison. Well, I think even though even though EU countries and the US also have the nuclear capabilities, Russia is also with its nuclear capabilities, I believe they will not deal with the nuclear technology in winning the Russia-Ukraine dispute.
But, sir, I think that this display of power hadn't been helping much about Russia's position in the international world in the midst of lots of sanctions. And also, when it comes to G20's presidency, Indonesia has been asked to exclude Russia from the meeting as well. And what do you think Indonesia has been doing in a sense of role on easing the tensions between these two blocs?
At the moment, Indonesia is in limbo. Yeah. Strong statements came from the U.S. Minister for Trade, and then strong statement also came from the Australian Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Then came another statement from the Canadian Prime Minister, and in a couple of hours, we will have Japan Prime Minister coming to Jakarta.
Yeah.
All of them are conveying the same message, asking Indonesia not to invite Russia.
Yeah.
I think this really a test for the Indonesian diplomacy, because we always claim that we are a non-aligned country, neither East nor West. But this is a very difficult situation. I'm sure our leaders, they are having a lot of scenarios in their mind. For example, positive scenario, in this case, the conflict ends and there is a mutually accepted solution. People are, Russia and EU and the US are happy with the new status of Ukraine as a border zone. That's the one scenario. Another scenario is the dispute continued, and when this dispute continued, it will put a bad impression, a global impression for Putin. He will be considered as an aggressor, and then, this put Indonesia into a very difficult situation. So I think Indonesia at the moment is thinking what kind of scenario to be played with regard to G20. To invite Putin or not to invite Putin, or to invite Putin but invite the President Zelensky to Indonesia, but not for this G20, but for a special meeting under one or two Sherpa under the G20 banner. I think it is hard to be non-aligned. It is, I believe, Indonesian diplomacy is being highly tested at the moment. I cannot imagine our diplomats. They must be very They are holding a hot potato at this very moment.
That's right.
That's
At
right.
this very moment.
And I didn't see the second option coming.
Well, not yet, not yet. Well, you know, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. And you know, you always bring, you know, shed light to a lot of very, very interesting and crucial perspectives, and always bringing good, you know, history and context to a lot of the things that are happening right now. Teuku Rezasyah, Mr. Teuku Rezasyah, thank you so much for sharing with us today in regards to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. All right, we're set for a short break now.
That
was very, very interesting. But when we return, we'll talk about the Indonesian Religious Affairs Ministry now, which has set the quota for this year's Hajj pilgrimage.
We'll also have a special interview with the Umrah Hajj Director General, so stay tuned.